You're listening to the 49 Carats Pod.
Oops. I accidentally cut off my own intro, but that's
No.
okay. It is. Well, let me start from the top. I'm not used to getting cutting myself off. But what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Wednesday, September 11th. Us 49er fans are still buzzing from the week 1 win, but it seems like reality is starting to set in a little bit for week 2. Possibly no CMC again. And big whoop when you look at the 49ers history playing in Minnesota. We'll talk about that and more with my Wednesday co-host, Rob. Rob, how you doing, man?
Steph, I'm doing great. The Niners are 1-0. Food tastes better. The sun is shining. Life is good.
It's shining for now. I mean, it's still, we're in that weird transition between summer and fall. The leaves are starting to turn, but yes, football is back and 49ers football is back and it's still looking pretty good. I don't know if you saw this, Rob, but 49ers still good for TV on Monday night. The game against 49ers Jets averaged 20.5 million viewers. That was the second most watched week 1 matchup on Monday Night Football for ESPN in the 19 season history of airing Monday Night Football. No surprise. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers is also good for TV. So when you got both of those in the mix, you're going to get a lot of people tuned in. But yeah, week 1 was definitely a good win for the 49ers, but it doesn't come without some concerns after hearing as of late the reports on Christian McCaffrey don't seem to be too encouraging. The latest came from Ian Rappaport this morning. I believe it was Adam Schefter that said as early as Monday night after the game that he also thought it was a long shot for Christian McCaffrey to play in week 1. Kyle Shanahan pretty much denied it, said that only God would know. Well, it seems like God is somewhere in the 49ers building because now we're seeing multiple reports of this, and Christian McCaffrey seems to be a long shot to play against the Vikings. This is definitely starting to get pretty concerning.
100% maximum concern because this is an injury that goes back to week 17 against Washington last year. Of course, McCaffrey played in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, had all off season to heal, right? And then as soon as he came back after getting the new deal, immediately aggravated it. And then took a month off because it didn't play in the preseason, was not practicing, and then tries to ramp it up again for week 1 and aggravates it again. And that's a very scary injury. Just to hear the way Kyle described it on the conference call is basically something that can get aggravated at any time and act up at any time. That's not what you want for you, the best player on your offense. So I'm very, very concerned about Christian McCaffrey. Now, look, obviously you'd rather have him be cautious and get him back at the end of the season for the playoffs, but I don't think you can count on Jordan Mason to run for 147 yards every week.
That's fair. And Kyle Shanahan's full quote on Christian McCaffrey is, quote, "It's not just the calf, it's the Achilles. And the Achilles is tendonitis, and that stuff comes and goes when it is acting up. It's something you've got to be very careful about. If it was a playoff game, he made it very clear to me he believed he could go," end quote. Again, that was Kyle Shanahan speaking on Christian McCaffrey's calf and Achilles tendonitis injury. So it seems like by the day we get more information about this one, and that's usually how it goes with the 49ers. They're pretty vague usually for some reason, and then once we get more details, we're like, that is why you didn't want everyone to know what is actually going on here. So yeah, talking about Achilles tendonitis, that is definitely something concerning here for the 49ers. Seems like it's something that, as Kyle mentioned, comes and goes, could act up. It seems like it was acting up for Christian McCaffrey on Monday night when he tested it out, and that's why he didn't play. Desi, who joins the channel every now and again to talk about injuries, shared this on Twitter, wanted to share it here as well. This is from up-to-date clinical data on Achilles tendonitis. It says, quote, approximately 10% of patients who sustain an Achilles tendon rupture had pre-existing Achilles tendon problems. Goes on to say that tendon rupture occurs in 8.3% of competitive athletes. Now, when you break it down and you look at these percentages, it's not too high. So around 10%, right? That's not terrible. Because in my mind, I'm also thinking to myself, if you have Achilles tendonitis, it's only a matter of time before you rupture it. At least like me as a fan, that's where my mind goes. But 10% alleviates my concerns a little bit, but I don't think it means we're out of the woodworks here.
No, I'm telling you, just as concerned about this as I was, the Eric Armstead plantar fasciitis, right? I think it's just going to be the thing where it can go away and then he'll be great and he can come back from one game and all of a sudden it could flare up again. I think Christian McCaffrey's availability going forward has to be very, very questionable at best. The old saying is we're all day to day, haha. But I think in Christian McCaffrey's case, it's legit. I don't know how much you can count on him this year and going forward. Seems like this could be a chronic thing, and that's a scary thought because he's a huge, huge part of their offense.
I'm at a point where anytime Christian McCaffrey even steps on the field, I'm going to be concerned that this could turn into something bigger. And by bigger, I think our mind always goes to a rupture, and that would be catastrophic, I think, for the 49ers and Christian McCaffrey. And I also want to just pose the question because we spoke about it in the off season in our respective shows, right? The Madden curse. I mean, I didn't want to make anything out of it because I was like, you give power to the things you believe in, and so I wasn't trying to believe in the Madden curse. I felt like the last time we saw it was with Antonio Brown. Kind of been quiet since then. But I don't know. This one is not giving me a very great feeling, and I can't help but think about the fact that he was on the Madden cover this year, and then we get the news of this.
After it, therefore, because of it is a logical fallacy, but I don't like messing with curses, Steph. I don't. Why even go there, right? Why even challenge it? Maybe if the Niners had given McCaffrey his deal, then he wouldn't have felt compelled to do the Madden thing because he would have had the extra money. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying. That is one of my favorite things to say as well. Corey, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, isn't it puzzling and amusing that AR, I'm assuming you're talking about Aaron Rodgers here, has deciphered history's greatest conspiracy theories, yet the 49ers defense continues to mystify him, the enigma. And yeah, Aaron Rodgers gonna have his own series on Netflix. I'm sure that'll be a doozy, one I will not be watching, but in any case, he continues to struggle against the 49ers defense, as we saw on Monday night. Could be a case of the Rusties, could be a case of the 49ers defense always having their way with Aaron Rodgers. But hey, not my problem.
I am so glad that I do not have to watch and root for Aaron Rodgers this season. I love beating Aaron Rodgers. I will never get tired of it. I will never get tired of seeing that face in that helmet, Steph, that we saw on Monday Night Football with Aaron Rodgers. I put it at the bottom of the screen. I don't know if you can pop that into the show for anybody watching. There it is. Look at it. Look at his stupid face in that stupid helmet. He looks like the Great Gazoo from the old Flintstones cartoons. I'll never get tired of it. Put that right up there in the Louvre with the one where he's on the ground and his chin strap is all up on his face from a couple of years ago. It was so satisfying to beat Aaron Rodgers. Now you can go. Why don't you talk about that on McAfee, you jerk?
It's funny because he was on McAfee the day after that game, but I didn't care to tune in. But I'm sure he spoke about the game at some point. There's always a face. There's always a face with Aaron Rodgers when he plays against the 49ers. And yes, it looks a little bit like this one. But Rob, as we were talking about some injuries, wanted to get back to some of those updates because we did get a few more after the game. Talanoa Hufanga, according to Kyle Shanahan, does have a chance to play on Sunday. Not sure if that is, game speak. You want the Vikings to prepare for him, even if he's not going to play, or if he truly has a chance. That would be exciting if he does suit up. Aaron Banks calf contusion. He exited the game early on Monday night. Spencer Burford stepped in. Banks is day-to-day. Juwan Jennings was in and out of this game, like, constantly, dealing with an ankle injury. If you guys recall, he dealt with that the week prior to Monday night as well. He is day-to-day, and of course, Christian McCaffrey, we're still going to keep tabs on him throughout this week. That continues to be a big one. But having Hufanga back in this game would be huge. Having Banks in this game would be huge. But I'm at this point right now, Rob, where I'm not too concerned about some of these injuries, just because I think I've seen that the next man up seems to be pretty damn good on this 49ers team. It speaks to the depth that they have right now on this team.
I mean, Spencer Burford came in and he, along with the rest of the line, had like a 96% pass block win rate grade. That's like the whole line playing up to Trent Williams standards, which is kind of crazy to think about. I saw somewhere, I can't remember where Burford kind of said that he felt more comfortable on the left side because he had played there a lot in college also. So maybe like he can, be a little bit better if he does have to fill in for Banks for any amount of time. Maybe he can just not be a liability out there, right? Plus you're playing next to Trent Williams. That probably, I would imagine, makes life significantly easier than playing next to Colton McKivitz. Just, put that out there. And with the wide receiver spot too, like, obviously, we want Jennings to play because of everything that he provides with the blocking and the third down play. But like, if Cowing had to go back in there, or in a few weeks, if Pearsall had to be the one that was in there for Juwan Jennings, like, I'm not saying it's guaranteed that they're going to be great, but I would be excited to see those two play.
Yeah, and I think also we could expect that Brandon Ayuk, another week with practice, he's going to be closer to 100% conditioning wise and just getting back into the rhythm of game prep. So I'd feel all right. But interesting enough, Juwan Jennings was a leading receiver on Monday night, probably partially because Brandon Ayuk had limited snaps in this game. We also saw a bit of Chris Conley, but I don't believe Conley caught any passes in this one. And so I guess in that sense, Juwan Jennings would be missed a little bit, but they still have guys who can cover just in case Jennings doesn't play in this game or has to be in and out like he was on Monday night. Now, you mentioned the offensive line, Rob, and that is something that I'm a little excited about, actually, to talk about in this show, because it looks like Dominic Pooney is the real deal. And I pointed this out yesterday on my show with Weston. And I know it's a small sample size, but the 49ers ran to the right on 64% of their runs in week one. That's a huge difference from their trends of the past. Is, they always run mostly to the left side because of Trent Williams. In 2023, they ran to the right the least of any team, 41%. Now, I do understand. I think we have to acknowledge that Trent Williams not being 100% going into this game definitely has something to do, I think, with the 49ers wanting to run the opposite side. And then also you have to keep in mind Quinnen Williams is on the left side too. So I do think that did have something to do with why the 49ers maybe wanted to run right a little bit more in this game. But I do also think it speaks to the confidence that they have in Pooney, and for good reason.
Well, not only did they run to the right a lot, but it worked, right? That's the key. For whatever the reason was that they were running to the right side, whether it was because they were trying to save Trent or whatever, running away from somebody on the Jets defense, it wasn't just that they attempted to go that way, is that it worked. They were gaining yards that way. That is not something that we saw a lot last year. Usually when the 49ers broke off big chunk runs, they were running to the left last season. So the fact that they actually were effective running to that side of the field, I think is absolutely massive. I do think Pooney has a lot to do with that. Before I hopped on with you, I did an interview with Paul Allen, who's the radio voice of the Minnesota Vikings. It'll be up on my channel on Saturday. He said he had already talked to Vikings defensive linemen who told him they started watching 49ers film and they were like, damn, who's that guy 77? He's really good. That, to me, is a massive, massive compliment. The fact that defenders are watching game film and that Pooney is jumping out to them to the point where they're talking about him to other people, that to me is a very encouraging sign for the future of Dominic Pooney.
That's huge. And not just Pooney, this offensive line, what you're able to do in the run game, what you're able to do in the pass game. I mean, it could truly open some things up. And I've been saying it, right? Like, it's not crazy to say that Dominic Pooney is the second best offensive lineman on this line already. And yeah, I feel crazy saying it, but it is true. So yeah, this is a good early return on Pooney. And I think he's going to continue. I know Kyle Shanahan in the post game kind of said, like, yeah, he looked good. We'll see how he looks in week 2 after having played a full game on a short week on the road. Like, so it seems like at every turn, the 49ers just kind of want to wait and see on Dominic Pooney. Like, they almost don't want to get too excited, but they have to be deep down inside just a little excited about this. And I did see on PFF, they had the breakdown of directional runs for Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason averaged 8.3 yards per carry when running behind Dominic Pooney against the Jets in week 1. Running behind Trent Williams, 5.5 yards per attempt. So still pretty good there. Running to the right end, which this one was surprising. So I guess like outside of Colton McKivitz, 8.1 yards per attempt for him there. So I think that also speaks to Eric Sauber, who I thought looked good blocking in this game. But I'm seeing some really nice wrinkles for the 49ers in the run game, for pass protection as well with Dominic Pooney there. I think it's going to open things up for them quite a bit.
I really was blown away by the pass protection in the game. Until I think it was like the fourth quarter, the Jets had 2 pressures on Brock Purdy the whole game. And I think they came actually on the first 2 third downs of the game. First third down, I think McKivitz just got shoved back into Purdy. But he had time. There were a couple of plays where he just dropped back to pass, and he's got time to look left and look right and really read the field. He was under pressure a lot last season, Brock Purdy. If he has time to sit back there and read the field after a healthy offseason and another year in this offense, we kept hearing you either get better or you get worse, but you never stay the same. Well, this is a real area where the 49ers had a chance to get better and improve. And if they are, that could be massive for them. That's the difference between making that 1 third down conversion and having to be off the field. Those small just gains on the margin where the 49ers could be a little bit better, and that may help them get over the top.
Yeah, so we'll see if they continue on with that in week 2 against the Vikings. Vikings also have a pretty decent defense, so we'll see how Pooney does in those conditions. Like Kyle Shanahan said, short week on the road, so hopefully it continues to look good, but encouraging signs so far. Now, Rob, I wanted to ask you about this because I thought this was super interesting, right? We know that Kyle Shanahan gave up play calling duties in the preseason to Clay Kubiak. And we all thought, hey, that's interesting, but also it's probably nothing, right? And at the time, Kyle Shanahan said that, well, preseason games are boring. Like, I actually hate play calling in the preseason. It's so boring. Something to that effect is what he said. Now, recently, and I believe it was like yesterday or something like that, I don't actually have the transcript of like the direct quote of when he said this, but I caught wind of it from a couple of people, including beat writer Tim Kawakami, who mentioned that ever so subtly, Kyle Shanahan did kind of say that he was listening in on the defensive play calls in the preseason, listening in on Nick Sorensen. And so if that was part of or most of the reason why he wanted to not have the play calling duty so that he could do that, I mean, that would make a whole lot of sense. Because if you recall when the 49ers had to play the Vikings last year, they had a little snafu before halftime, and we will talk about that here in a bit as well. But you just maybe just being more familiar with your defensive coordinator and what they would want to call in certain situations is not a bad thing from Kyle Shanahan's standpoint. And so I thought that was really interesting. Maybe he wants to avoid a situation like that in the future.
So I was one of the people who, as soon as we found out that Kyle wasn't calling plays in the preseason, I was like, there's more to this than just, oh, I thought let's give it to Kubiak and let him do it. And I didn't think it was like a sinister reason, but I did not believe that Kyle Shanahan, out of the goodness of his heart, just gave up play calling, the thing that he is best at, the thing that he loves to do. And now I think we know the reason, and it was a very good reason. I think it was a smart thing to do by Kyle Shanahan. Nick Sorensen is a first-time defensive coordinator. Nick Sorensen's never called plays. You're putting him in this spot. Obviously, they're well aware of the expectations that he has on his shoulders, considering the Niners were third in points per game allowed last year, and they fired Steve Wilks. And they held the Chiefs to, what was it? 1 offensive touchdown or 2 offensive touchdowns in regulation in the Super Bowl. Like, there's a lot of pressure on Nick Sorensen. So the fact that Kyle was listening on the headset in the preseason, I thought was a great idea. He could listen, he could hear, he could, offer tips or advice or whatever the case may be. So I love that he did that. It makes perfect sense. And I mean, it's only 1 week, but I love the way Sorensen adjusted after they got burned by Garrett Wilson on the first, the third drive, I think, on those third downs. And after that, Garrett Wilson was irrelevant in the game. I think he had like 1 or 2 catches the whole rest of the game. So Nick Sorensen checks the box for week 1.
And that's pretty much what Kyle Shanahan was saying. He was asked how he thought Nick Sorensen did in week 1. And that's kind of how we were able to get that answer out of Kyle Shanahan, where he did say he was listening in on him in the preseason. And as you guys know, or may or not know, Kyle Shanahan also listens in on meetings, like other positional coaches' meetings. He has cameras, and in his office, he has cameras of all the other meeting rooms and can listen in, and even has a microphone to talk back if he has any feedback. So yeah, Kyle is very involved in the rest of the team. In the past, I've always thought to myself that Kyle Shanahan sees the defensive coordinator as head coach of the defense, and I think he's always liked it that way. At that time, he had really strong defensive coordinators like Saleh and DeMeco Ryans, but now I think he's seen the advantage of him being more involved and just making sure that, he does kind of oversee that stuff as well. It is pretty important. So I like that he's keeping tabs on it all. And yes, it seems like Nick Sorensen did a good job in week 1. I agree, Rob. I thought he did some really quick adjustments with the Garrett Wilson stuff. So that was very pleasing for me to see, and I'm sure it was for Kyle Shanahan as well. But a really, really interesting tidbit for sure. All right, guys, we're about halfway here. Make sure that you guys download the Locker app, because this week we are starting contests. So if you join the 49K League, you go toe-to-toe with everyone in the league, and you get points for the pools that you guys put together. So this week, they're offering a 5K prize pool. You don't need to deposit anything to participate in this. It's free to play. 5K prize pool, so you get a chance to win $5,000. If you use a promo code WIN, though, they will match your first deposit up to $100. So make sure you guys do that. The link to download Locker app is in the description of this video. Audio listeners, it'll be in the description of this podcast. So make sure you guys do that. And like I said, we're going to have some fun with this regular season. So make sure you guys do that. All right. Well, Rob, it's time for Way Back Wednesday. This has started to become like one of my favorite segments, and it's fun to look back on things in, some matchups. I think when I was looking at 49ers Vikings, this one was really interesting to me because it's kind of a bizarro world matchup for the 49ers, at least historically. They've played each other 50 times in their history, including 6 postseason games. The 49ers have the slight edge, 25-24 all time. They also have a tie in there, so 25-24-1. I saw that the Vikings haven't won in San Francisco since 2007, so they also struggle playing in the Bay. The 49ers haven't won in Minnesota, though, since December 13th, 1992. That is disgusting. Like what Rob, I knew that the 49ers had trouble playing there, but I had no idea it went back that far. I was 1 year old the last time the 49ers won a game in Minnesota. Like that, what is going on over there? It seems like there's something in the water that the 49ers clearly just don't jive with.
Yes. I mean, they're not playing the Vikings. It's not like they're playing the Vikings every year. I've heard this stat a lot. Paul Allen, like I said, radio voice of the Vikings, love to bring it up and point it out. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's irrelevant to what happens on the field on Sunday. You know, like you think the Niners are going into that game? Oh man, we haven't won here since 1992. Like you said, you were 1 year old, right? The players on the 49ers don't give a crap about what happened before they were born. Like, no. Don't worry about that. This is a new stadium in Minnesota. It's a new 49ers team. Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. They are going to kick the hell out of Minnesota on Sunday, and I can't wait to see it.
Well, Rob, that's what I thought last time the 49ers played in Minnesota. But let's look back at this game from December 13th in 1992, the last time 49ers won. 49ers won 20-17. And it was running back Amp Lee who led the charge here. 23 carries, 134 yards, 2 total touchdowns. Great performance by him. But yeah, that was the last time. I get it. It's different players now, but that's a really long time to not win in Minnesota. And like I said, last year, far and away, the 49ers should have won this game. They didn't even have Justin Jefferson in this one. So you think it's going to be an easy one, just like you are right now, Rob. And this time they do have Justin Jefferson. They won't have Jordan Addison, though, who had 2 touchdowns in that game for the Vikings. And as I mentioned a little bit ago, we know they had that 60-yard touchdown before halftime on the Steve Wilkes snafu. But still, I mean, I'm not calling it a lock just because clearly there's something weird going on over there that 49ers just need to get some type of monkey off their back in Minnesota.
Well, first I want to say I remember Amp Lee, and he would play with the 49ers for a couple of years, and then he would actually leave, and you know where he went next? Minnesota.
Seattle? Oh, Minnesota.
His first season with the Vikings was 1994, which sucks for him because, of course, we know who won the championship in 1994. That would be the San Francisco 49ers. They replaced him with Ricky Waters, excuse me. Pretty good upgrade there for the 49ers.
Not bad. Yeah.
But anyway, yes. So that is a thing that happened. Sorry, Ampli. Just had to bring that up. With this week, like Justin Jefferson, yeah, he's good. I get it. The game, I went back and watched the game from last year, Steph. And I don't know how much of that game you remember, but
it was last year, Rob. Yeah, I remember.
First possession, Kirk Cousins throws the interception to Mooney Ward, right? Niners get the ball. They're all set up. They're driving down the field. No problem. Christian McCaffrey fumbles in the red zone. That stops them. We all remember the infamous play, 16 seconds left in the second quarter. Vikings have no timeouts. Mooney Ward has the ball in his hands, and Jordan Addison rips it away and runs for a touchdown. Like,
yeah,
a lot of fluky stuff happened in that game. And I will say, too, the Brian Flores defense kicked the hell out of the 49ers. I think they're going to be much better prepared this year. I think Sam Darnold is way worse than Kirk Cousins. When I was rewatching that game, I remembered my frustration because it was like Kirk drops back, first read, open. First read over the middle, open. First read. And it was like, Justin Jefferson's not even here, and this is what's happening. And that was like when the cracks in the Shanahan-Steve Wilkes relationship formed, was that game. And I just think that the 49ers are going to do a better job with their coverages and their fronts to not give Sam Darnold easy looks. I think they're going to get pressure on Sam Darnold. And when you get pressure on Sam Darnold, he will give you the football. I'm taking the over on Sam Darnold interceptions, whatever it is. Give me the over. I'll take it. 1.5, 1, 1.5, 2. I'll take the over. Sam Darnold stinks, and I can't wait for the 49ers to prove it on Sunday.
Yeah, as Jay said on Bully Ball, smash the anytime interception for Sam Darnold in this game. He even had one in week 1. But yeah, that game last year was definitely fluky. The 49ers had 3 turnovers in that when you mentioned the fumble from McCaffrey. Brock Purdy, 2 interceptions in that game. So it's definitely fluky, but that's what I'm saying. Like fluky things for some reason just seem to happen in Minnesota when the 49ers play there. But hopefully this time it is a different story. And you mentioned it. There's going to be some familiar faces for the 49ers in this game, headlined by starting quarterback for the Vikings, Sam Darnold. They also have Nick Mullins over there too.
Yeah.
Trent Sherfield even. So there's a couple guys over there, and we have a former Viking on our team, Josh Dobbs. But I expect it'll be a different. We'll see some differences than when Josh Dobbs was playing for the Vikings. So I don't know how much intel he'll really be able to give us. But in any case, I have a special segment here just for Rob. It's the Sam Darnold segment to annoy Rob specifically because I love to push Rob's buttons. So I just wanted to point out in this slide how well Sam Darnold played in week 1. He was 19 of 24, a 79.2 completion percentage, 208 yards, not crazy, 2 touchdowns, and of course, the anytime 1 interception for Sam Darnold. You could bet money on it. 88.1 PFF grade. He was the top graded quarterback by PFF in week 1. So, I don't know. It's good. Look,
Like-
he's already mad over there. Look. I just want to say though, before you go on a tangent here, which I know you will, it was the Giants. They were playing the Giants in this game, so I'm not putting a lot of stock into what Sam Darnold did in week 1. Good for him. He looked okay. Yes, I know at one point he was 12 for 12. It was the Giants. He also threw an interception to them. And like Rob pointed out, he's playing the 49ers this time. I think they're going to do a better job than the Giants at shutting down whatever the hell Sam Darnold has going for him. And yes, he's going to get the 49ers defense is going to get at least 1 interception in this game. That's easy money.
Darnold rules. Look, I got more. Don't worry. Sam Darnold always gets graded on a curve. The bar for him is so low. If Sam Darnold doesn't burn down the house, people are like, look what a great babysitter he is. Like, no, it was the Giants. He basically threw within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage the entire game. He was never under any pressure, and he still had a turnover. Like you said, he's not a good quarterback. Every time he goes out and even plays moderately well, people act like, oh, see, he was picked 3rd overall for a reason.
Yeah, man, he's a whole new Sam Darnold. Nice. Woo!
Like, he's the same guy. He's the same trash quarterback. This isn't 10 starts into his career, or 20, or 30, or 40, or 50. Like, how much more do we have to see before we say, you know what? Turns out he actually sucks. But no, he throws one good slant pass or one good deep ball, and people are like, woo, look at that arm. Like, no, I'm just so tired of it. Meanwhile, Brock Purdy is over here, you know, in the MVP conversation, leading the 49ers to the conference championship and Super Bowl. Every year he's been a starter, and people are still like, we have to see about Brock Purdy. Yet Sam Darnold, like, I don't get the two things. I don't get it.
Yeah, people say we have to see on Brock Purdy waiting for him to be bad, and people say we have to see on Sam Darnold waiting for him to be good.
Yes.
And I literally heard someone say, unironically, that Sam Darnold might actually be in a situation where he could finally be successful. He was literally on the 49ers last year. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? And to remind everyone what he did with the 49ers in 2023, of course, it was he didn't start in any game. It was mostly just cleanup duty at the end of games that were already like blowouts. In those games, mind you, most of the time he's probably playing against backups for the against the defense already. He was 28 of 46. That's a 60.9 completion percentage, 297 yards. And just really quickly, going back to his week 1 stats. in all of 2023 on more attempts. He had 297 yards in week 1. He had 208. So I'm not super impressed by Sam Darnold. Also, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception in the entire season with the 49ers
And 3
on more
fumbles.
attempts.
3 fumbles, one of which he totally gacked up against the Rams in his only start when they were driving to win the game in the fourth quarter. Nobody even hit him. He just dropped the ball.
That's hard to do.
Like
That's hard to do. It's almost like it's hard to be that bad. You almost got to try. But 66 PFF grade in 2023. So yeah, excuse me if I'm not threatened by the idea of Sam Darnold, and excuse me if I'm not buying this. He's finally in a situation he could succeed when these are the stats he put up with the 49ers, who everyone else calls the Avengers, right? So again, if you're
throw any quarterback back there with the Avengers and they look good, right? Except for Sam Darnold, who still looks like ass.
Yeah, I mean, 49er fans know that narrative isn't true at all. But people will still continue to say it, but except with Sam Darnold, they forget for some reason. But yeah, I'm not worried about Sam Darnold. I'm not worried about the Vikings offense. Justin Jefferson will be in this game. That I think he's the kind of receiver that he's going to get his, like he's going to have success. Garrett Wilson is also one of those guys, but like we said, we were encouraged by the adjustments that Nick Sorensen made to limit Garrett Wilson's impact. So I'm kind of expecting that we'll see some nice adjustments from Nick Sorensen as well. And who knows, maybe Mooney Ward even shadows him. I mean, Aaron Rodgers didn't even look to throw to Mooney Ward at any point in that week 1 game. So maybe that's something the 49ers can try out. But yeah, I'm just not worried about the Vikings offense.
I'm not worried about it either, to be honest with you. I am interested to see what the Niners do with Jefferson. I'm fascinated no matter who they put on him. I'd like to see Deommodore Lenoir on him a little bit because like his stock, I just feel like is going through the roof. Like he's really starting to look and play like one of the elite corners in the NFL. Even the play he had Monday, he didn't get the interception, but he tipped it up in the air and Demetrius Flanagan-Foles made the pick. Like he just seems like he wants that challenge. He wants to be matched up on the number 1 guy. And I absolutely love to see it. So the Niners, if you look at their schedule, they face a ton of good wide receivers all throughout the year. So that secondary is going to be put to the test. And I really want to see how they hold up against the best wide receiver in the league in Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in both of the 49ers top corners, Ward and Lenoir. I think Lenoir gets an interception in this one. I had predicted he would get it in week 1. Close enough. He's the one that batted it to Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. But this time, I think he does actually get the interception. So that's my expectation. And yeah, I think the 49ers defense are going to remind everyone who Sam Darnold really is in this game if Sam Darnold doesn't do it himself. So, Rob, fun show. Always fun looking back at some historic matchups. And like I said, hopefully the 49ers get this monkey off their back in Minnesota. I saw this comment from Corey here. He says, Rob, I think you'd make a good Nathan Fielder for Halloween. You familiar with the actor Nathan Fielder?
No. Who is Nathan Fielder?
Well, I just looked him up as we were talking here because I was also curious. This is Nathan Fielder. You'd make a good Nathan Fielder for Halloween. I'm trying to see like what he's actually in. He's on Comedy Central, I guess. I see it. I see the resemblance a little bit,
Yeah, he's got the oval head like me.
Oval head.
You know who I get more than that is Jay Baruchel, the guy from She's Out of My League. And he does the voice of the How to Train Your Dragon, the Hiccup, that guy. People think I look.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You look like him a lot, actually.
Yeah, why do all these famous people look like me and I'm hitting her in my basement? Yeah, there you go. I can't grow a beard.
Yeah, I can see it.
But yeah, that's what I get all the time. I can't grow a beard. I'm going to be 40 in January. It's just not in the cards for me.
Oh, geez. I guess you got to give that dream up. But Rob, thanks so much for joining me on a Wednesday. Always fun. Thanks to everyone that tuned in. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. Make sure to download the Locker app. Like I said, use the code WIN to get a match on your $100 deposit. For now, folks, have a good rest of your Wednesday. Peace.
Darnold rules.
Wait, Rob. Before I play my outro,
Yes.
you used a number of Sam Darnold audio clips. Do you have a folder of Darnold clips or something like that? Where are you even getting these?
Yes. I have a folder of many, many clips.
Yeah, man, he's a whole new Sam Darnold. Nice. Woo!
That's actually Grant Cohn. Both of those are Grant Cohn. Believe it or
That
not.
didn't even sound like Grant. That's wild.
Yeah, I have a whole folder of because it just drives me nuts. And when I get on stuff, and this was not even anticipating that they would eventually play him in the future, because I honestly never thought he would start another game again. So I just had all this from when he was with the Niners. Going back to that Paul Allen interview real quick that I mentioned, Paul said he had sources within the 49ers organization that were upset that they let Darnold leave after being the backup quarterback, which is wild to me. But apparently he's got his fans. I will say that 100%.
Yeah, and you might be one of them, Rob, just by your obsession for hating him.
It's
At
not
this point.
I don't.
You have, Rob, you literally just admitted to having a folder of Sam Darnold audio clips.
Yes, I do not dislike Sam. He seems like a perfectly fine person. I dislike the fact that it seems like the entire football media is trying to tell me that he's good when we have seen with our own eyes that he's not. That's what bugs me. It's not anything specific about him. He seems like a perfectly nice guy. He said all the right things when he was in San Francisco. He's fine, but just don't try and pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad, Rob, that I took the moment to ask you that question, because when I heard that clip, I was like, wait, how many clips does this guy have? I already heard 2 or 3. But all right, guys, again, leave a rating, leave a review if you're an audio listener. Like this video if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to Rob Gold Standard Network. Me and Jay do our weekly Bully Ball show there, so you don't want to miss the great content that comes out of that channel with Rob. But for now, again, have a good rest of your Wednesday, folks. Bye.